Hello, traveler. So, we find you at yet another auspicious crossroads. This time, however, it really appears that you're ready to step forward in a way of the intentional creator. It means that you have embodied enough of the work, enough of the nuance to be able to live and implement this in your life. And I can say so with clarity and confidence because otherwise, we would not be here right now. Now, I'm Danielle Lynn, and I connect at waypoints such as this with rad travelers such as yourself who are integrating and remembering just how powerful you really are. From my perspective, at this crossroad moment we find you, there might be a little bit of chaotic energy present, and that's okay. The answer here isn't to thrash about or just try and push something forward. And I imagine if you've landed on this video, there's a part of you that knows that already. This is an opportunity to truly orient with yourself from within and allow yourself to move in the way, in the life that not only you've known you wanted to live, but in some way you were born to live. So the first step, if you are genuinely ready to embrace this life, is having the will to have. This might sound very basic, but you may be surprised at how many of us really aren't embodying the will to have what we want. In fact, a lot of times we might go, oh, well, it's fine, or, if the divine says so, or maybe. If you observe beings that have in this world, you will notice sometimes beings who otherwise appear to be selfish or self-focused get a lot of the things that they want. And it's not because they are being rewarded per se, it's simply that they have the will to have. Let's give an example of this. So when it comes to money, for example, a lot of people simultaneously want money, but they are unconsciously in resistance to it. Like they may have internalized stories about having too much money creates problems, or I don't really need that much, or it's gonna be a hassle to have, or I have to work hard for it first. And so what you sometimes find in those situations is a person who has a lot of their energy really spun up in both a desire to have, but a resistance to a will that they are invoking. And that can be very draining. It's like pressing the gas and the brake at the same time, running the engine, but not moving forward. In those scenarios and cases, a lot of what we're invited to do is engage in curiosity with our stories. So if you've listened to my other videos, I talk a lot about stories. This is the next phase. Are you going to live this from the perspective of living as the story? Or do you want to live this from the perspective of shifting at the quantum level? Now, maybe this sounds like a trick question, but it's not. These are different ways of playing out your adventure. The reason I point to both of them is some people are so, what we're going to call it, stuck. They're so stuck in their story mode that they sometimes write themselves into a corner and they feel like they have no idea how to get themselves out of there. And this is where people sometimes become really down on themselves and they get very low and they start believing, thoughts that aren't true, such as they're not powerful or they can't figure out how to get out of there. And that's a certain kind of story to live. When we have the quantum level, this is where we remember to be in observer mode. We remember how to live the story, and then we also remember how to be in observer mode of the story. Because just like this story, our ego, our human self, is only one facet. It's only a percent of who I am and who you truly are. You know this, but it can be a helpful reminder to hear this. It's only a fraction of who you are. And while there are certainly nuances to this human story that you have chosen to live, you have also allowed yourself certain rememberings, certain portals, and certain tools to assist you. If you ever found yourself in let's say a corridor of your story, or your dream where you found yourself in a bit of a loop and you're like, this ain't quite it. Being able to remember your ability to toggle from being in the story to being the observer is one of those tools. Because many times, the solutions to our most persistent, stubborn problems or challenges in life are always right there. They often say, just under your nose. And when we are nose deep in it, we can have a hard time looking under the nose. So when you zoom out as the observer, and if you're curious about the observer mode, I can link in this video, my previous video, where I talk a bit about the observer mode. And also in the Self-Alchemy Lab, I have a meditation that takes you through the observer mode. So if you want to check that out, you can click the description link and take a look. So in the observer mode, you allow yourself to have a wider perspective without getting embroiled and entangled in all the nuances of your problems or your challenges. And what happens is more lateral thinking, more insights, more presence. As you gain wider perspective, what this allows you to do is, with your choice and with the will to have the story experience that you enjoy, you can step back into the story from the perspective of being back into the flow and the rhythm of the experience of the story that you prefer to focus on. Okay. And the beauty here is the more that you remember how to connect with your life this way and to give yourself more space to remember again that you are more than just this version of yourself, you can approach life with a little bit more lightheartedness. Even when you are facing seemingly challenging, seemingly difficult times in your life, you can approach it with a bit of a sense of humor, right? Comedians, I often say, they are some of the great sages of our times, assisting us with body alchemy through the field of laughter. You can be your own comedian magician. I mean, I got a few jokes. So, will to have the ability to toggle your story now is embodiment. So, embodiment comes from remembering that you are beyond your story, but at the same time, if you choose to live your story, you can allow yourself to live as the version of you that is the most natural and true and resonant to you. You're a multifaceted being. You have whimsy, maybe you have a trickster energy, maybe you have seriousness, maybe you have darkness, but you also have beauty and light. You are this amalgamation of energy. And it's not about trying to fix or get rid of any specific part of yourself, not in my perspective anyway. But it's about being willing to be transparent and honest with yourself and see all of you, the parts you love, the parts maybe you don't love so much, and just be like, okay, and what now? And when you shift from a relationship of fixing yourself, belittling yourself, being frustrated with yourself, into a relationship where you just understand, yeah, there is a lot of me here. And in each and every moment, I'm going to navigate that to the fullness of my knowing, to the fullness of my presence. I'm sharing all of this with you because I know that at this moment that this video finds you, there is a threshold moment for you. There are some places that you may have felt like you have stumbled, but you don't have to worry about those. Truly. Understand that they are part of the soup and the material of what you are living. If you could give yourself the benefit of the moment again and again and again, and instead of assuming that there's something wrong or something more you have to fix, start to play with the assumption that things are really working out for you in incredible ways. Even if right now it appears to be a little wonky, like, okay, it's working out for me, but more like I'm curious how. Let's find out. And you continue on that premise without expecting, consciously or unconsciously, that life has to turn out a certain way for you. I imagine you will find life does start appearing to be this synchronistic adventure where things appear to happen fluidly, magically, coming into place again and again. So a few more thoughts to bring this all together for you. There may feel like there's a little bit of chaotic energy in this moment, but please understand that you always have a sanctuary of stillness, even within a field of chaos. You do not need to let yourself get tilted by any outer circumstances. You have the ability to deeply ground and root within, right here and right now. If, for whatever reason, you feel, well, I'm not sure how, then I would invite you to create pockets of stillness or pockets of flow in your day. For example, one of the ways I get into flow is I just walk. I walk and I unfocus my vision a bit and I just allow myself to take in the colors. And to be clear, I do this in a place it's safe to do so with someone I trust. And you can go for a walk, be in the flow, not overly focusing or thinking, just allow, and if thoughts come, allow them to pass by the same way the trees and the scenery pass by. Allow yourself the dignity of meeting the moments of flow. Cultivate them in your life and tend to them like they are gold. Because what happens is, from those spaces, that's where your inspirations arise. That's where you start taking life just a little less seriously in the best possible way. That's where you start connecting with and creating the life that reflects just how powerful you are. Because you are that powerful. Truly. I'm so much a resonant yes to witnessing you more and more each day connect to your genuine empowerment. Whenever we are tuning in like this is how I imagine you. And I assure you that whatever it is that you're going on in life, I have every confidence that you are connecting to your most resonant path. My friend, it has been such a joy to connect with you. If you would like to dive into some more of the materials that I have, you can check out the description link. I have all kinds of things in there and on all levels. I appreciate you, and I'm imagining you having an amazing rest of your day.